Hello 2020 design users, and welcome to this webinar on 2020 Design Live. So hopefully everybody is doing well considering the latest situation and our challenges that we're living with today. So we're excited to present you the latest 2020 Design Live product. I know there's a lot of questions out there. What is it? How do I get my hands on it? What does it entail? Will I have access to all my cool functionalities of 2020 Design? So we'll get right down to it. Who am I? My name is Santiago Morales, and I'm the product manager of 2020 Design. And with me today, I have Mark Monahan, who's the product manager of Cloud Content Applications. So everything that you'll see today, the cool stuff relating with the cloud, the browser, the configurator, Mark will give us a deep dive onto them and all their cool functionalities. Cool. So what's in and so we'll be talking, or I'll be talking about 2020 Design Live. What is it? What's the scope of it? How do you get access to it? And then our friend Mark Monahan will talk about the cloud browser and doing a live demonstration in 2020 Design using the cool assets. We'll also talk about the cloud configurator, how you can configure items from the cloud using a cool tool. And I'll take back towards the end and I'll talk about rates, how you apply rates to your catalogs, to your cloud catalogs, and you can easily change them so you can apply the right costs and retail rates. And finally, I'll show you a quick excerpt as to what the report looks like with these new cloud items. Why? Because the reports using cloud items will be technically different because we're talking about feature and options catalog where you're mostly used to a styles and pricing type of catalog. So we'll get down to it later on today in this presentation. All right, 2020 Design Live. What is it? Well, it's a new product. And basically, its foundation is 2020 Design. And actually, to get access to 2020 Design Live, you'll need to download and install version 12.1. 2020 Design Live is a subscription-based product. So you'll need to get that license, which is a 2020 Design Live license. And we have a cool program right now running. So if you have your current perpetual license or you have a dongle or a soft key and you want to migrate to 2020 Design Live, we have a cool way to transition you over to 2020 Design Live. So along with the recording and the email to this webinar, we'll provide you a link to also how you can transition to 2020 Design Live. But more specifically, what is it? Basically, with 2020 Design Live, you'll have access to all the functionality of 2020 Design. So every cool functionality that you have today with 2020 Design, you'll be able to access them on 2020 Live. With 2020 Design Live, you'll have access to more in-depth functionality, and namely the access to the cloud items. Access to cloud items, and not only access them, but you'll be able to configure them. So you have two editions of the 2020 Design Live. So if you see my screen here, you have 2020 Live Foundation and the full-blown 2020 Design Live. So basically, the Foundation will provide you access to generic catalogs and also cloud generic catalogs. Whereas the 2020 Design Live will provide you access to file-based manufactured content, where they're file-based or even cloud catalog content. So you'll be able to access them, configure them, and do all your modification that you require to complete all your projects. Along with the 2020 Design Live project, we're also bundled in two extra functionality, which are namely the closet. So if you're familiar with the closet suite of 2020 Design, you'll be able to use the flex capability to enter your items through panels and configure your closet space more intuitively. And finally, more for an integration partner, we have an application integration module, which in itself permits an integration with third-party products. So they'll be able to interpret XML output of 2020 Design. So that's a bit more in the high-end integration path. So it's more for those hardcore integration partners. Okay. Next slide. Oops, a bit too fast. The cloud browser. So this is where I bring in my good friend Mark Monahan. Mark, if you may introduce yourself a bit.
Thank you, Santiago. Sure. So thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Mark Monaghan. I've been working closely with Santiago over the past months to bring the cloud browser and the cloud configurator to 2020 design. And this is our great opportunity to show you a little bit about functionality that exists today that you may have seen or you may have missed, and to show you some really cool new stuff as well. So let's get started. I'll share my screen. Okay. Santiago, can you just verify that my screen's visible there?
Yeah, absolutely. I see your screen, nice and clear. I see 2020 design with the rendering open.
Perfect. Okay. So first off, I want to just briefly run through what we have over here in the cloud browser. This is the news feed, which is something you're probably familiar with. It's been there for some time, and this is a list of blogs and posts that we have added to give you extra helpful tips or alert you to new catalogs or new functionality that we might have. We have a new thing in here as well where you can request a catalog. If you find that we're missing a catalog in the cloud, you can make a request for that catalog here. Okay, so let's get into browse. I'm going to show you a few different features and functions here. First off, as you can see in our kitchen in this render and in the elevation as well, we don't have a range. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the range. So what I'm going to do is first open this list of catalogs, and you can see our cloud catalog listing has expanded significantly. We have in here a naming convention as well in all these catalogs, so it's very easy for us to use a text filter like this to show only the type of catalog that we're looking for. So I'm going to put in the first few letters of appliance, which will then allow me to select all the appliance catalogs. And that says updated. Now I have lots of results. So I want to filter this down a little bit more. I'm going to use another text filter on the item list to find us a nice gas range to fit in that hole. So what we have here is a text filter which will allow us to operate not just on the item code of an item, but also anything that appears in the description. And we have a little filter here which allows you to be more specific with that, so that you can enter an exact name or something that contains with it, contains these strings or starts with these strings. So it's a really powerful way to find something that you know to be in there and you just can't quite get to it. Or you can do something like this for the gas range, and you can see it's already filtered me right down to 502 results, which is great. I'm going to filter it a little bit further just to show you some of the other tools we have in here. This funnel icon lets us filter by parameters like price and dimension. So I know pretty much what the size of this hole is, so I'm going to filter further the ranges that are between 35 and 36 inches. And that gets me a bit further down in my listing for suitable products. Another thing I can do here is I can very easily undock this and make it a little bit bigger. This is ideal if you have multiple screens. You can have this on one screen and you can just design away and not have this interfere in your design. So we have a bunch of options here. Depending on how you like to view your results, you can tweak this. You can see we've got a number of items available here. I'm going to leave it there at 160, so I have one page. But I can also change what's displayed, so I can see the catalog name, maybe the order code, maybe not show the preview. change the description. And when I do that, I have a very different looking set of results. And if this is the way you're used to working, this can work great. We also have this, which is what we're going to use just now. This grid view lets you look at the results in a more visual way. So you can see, well, depending on how big you make this, you can see many more results. So I'm going to firstly redock this because I don't have the luxury of being able to share multiple screens. So, wrong handle, there we go. So we're just going to go down here and see what we can find in here, see something that looks good. You can see as I hover over these, I'm getting a nice large preview of the item, so I can visually just validate that this is the one I want. And that hover preview is also available if you were to look at these in a list form, so you don't lose out when using that. I'm going to go with this one here. Now maybe I want to learn a little bit more about this item. I can go to the information panel at the bottom, and it tells me a little bit more information, dimensions, more of a description and order code and so on. And I also have this little information icon here. And when I click that, it takes me to the manufacturer's website for that particular product. So I can get some more information about this that maybe wouldn't be available in a catalog. What we might have in here where you can see there's weight and dimensions and accessories and things like that. So that's a really handy way just to get some more information about your items.
That's really cool. Really cool,
yeah.
Mark. We have a question from the group here, from Jeff Jones. And Jeff is asking
Sure.
if we know the exact specs of an appliance, can we quickly find it? And I'm assuming these are dimension specs.
If it's dimensions, then absolutely. So what we could also do, as an example, we could go in here and look for gas range 36. We could also search for a product code or a filter for a product code. Oh, I need a space. We can use this filter here, as I showed you with the width, to maybe put in some more definitions here. So if you're filtering through lots and lots of catalogs, you could quickly narrow down your search for an item that would fit, or a series of items that would fit. Okay.
Cool, thank you.
What did that mean?
He further clarified that it was if we knew the brand and the SKU, we'll be able to search for those. So basically how the text search field works is that it goes through a database that we have and that we've linked specific items to specific key search words. And we're looking to expand that and to also include the SKU and the brand, so you'll be able to, through the search the text field, to quickly find the items you're interested in.
Absolutely. And as you saw when I was picking the catalogs, you can, if you know the catalog that your item is in, you can choose to select only that catalog. And we'll do a little bit more of that in a few minutes. So I just dragged that item in, and you can see in our render we have a nice range, just where it should be. And just going back to that catalog list, so if you know the one you're looking for, you can just go in here and you can pick it. We have this cool function here which allows you to, instead of having to go through and deselect all the others, you can just pick that one. And then that will be the only one that shows up. You clear these filters. So there we go, these are the results for just one catalog. So one thing that you maybe saw there as I was flying up and down this catalog list is we have these little stars here. These allow you to favorite a catalog. So I can just click one, it turns orange, click a few more, and then the next time I open my catalog list, those guys will have floated to the top. So if I work with certain catalogs predominantly, or I have some favorite ones, I can make sure I can get to these much more quickly. I can also use this to select only all my favorites. So this is really good if you're doing, again, like that search example. Maybe you only want to look for certain items or a certain size within the ranges that you carry as a dealer. Okay. Let me undo these. While we're in here, we have at the lower end of this list, we have some more catalogs. Now, these ones here that you can see that we can select, these are available to you in Design Live. These ones down here are available to you if the manufacturer permits you access to those catalogs. And we have a little request mechanism in here where you can simply request access for the users with a license at your company. And then the manufacturer will grant you permission at a company level. So not everyone at your company needs to make this request. Just one will do. And you can see this particular one here, or maybe you can't. It's a little small. But the orange padlock there has changed to a gray padlock. And that tells me that this catalog is pending a request. So someone has asked for it, but it hasn't yet been granted.
Cool.
Okay.
So there's a couple of questions on the feed here, Mark.
Sure.
Basically, people are inquiring as to who has control on these catalogs. So basically, what we're trying to do is provide this control to the manufacturer themselves, so they'll be able to maintain and update their catalog through this portal. So you'll have the latest and greatest always available within 2020 design. Another question is, do the appliance have installation specs? Well, it depends on the maturity of each catalog. So as Mark just demonstrated, this appliance catalog he had just selected, he was able to quickly link onto the web page and pull out more defined details regarding specs for the specific appliance. So it really depends on the maturity of each catalog and how the manufacturer has organized his data and information.
Yeah, the manufacturer can put this information or much of this information into the catalog, but it may be more reasonable for them to put more detailed information into their web page, which the catalog then points to. That's the one I was using, I think. Signature. We have this icon here.
Right.
There are additional information points. So in this list, if we're looking at this in list view, there are additions that you could change in here. And beyond that, you probably want to refer to the website.
Cool.
Okay, let's do something else with this. Let's change the view. I'm bored of that view now. Okay, so you can see in our half-baked kitchen, as well as not having a range, we don't have a sink or a sink base. So what we're going to do now, we saw appliances. You might have been using appliances from the cloud already. We're going to go ahead and add a sink base from our cabinetry. So I'm going to choose the 2020 frameless cabinetry catalog. I happen to know that the rest of this kitchen is built with that catalog. And what you'll see here right at the top of the list are 2020 appliances, deco, framed, frameless, sinks and faucets. And these are the brand new configurable cloud generic content. So this is what you would have access to with a Design Live Foundation license. And these are brand new, even deco just got an update. So we're going to use this, and you'll see the sort of features and options that are here. While I am here, one more thing while we're on this list. You can see here there are numbers, and that refers to the version of the catalog. With 2020 Cloud, as Santiago pointed out earlier, you would always have, without needing to download, you would always have the latest version of the catalog that the manufacturer has published. There's also a little information icon here. When you click that, it will pop up in your web browser, and it will show you the release notes for that catalog. So I'll just demo that while we're here. So I clicked on the release notes for Deco, and you can see in here it gives you all the different versions, and it will tell you, what's been updated in each one, new products that were added, what changes were made, things that were removed, and all sorts of stuff like that. So this can be really helpful if you're looking for something that you thought was going to be there, but you can't see. Okay, back to our kitchen. Frameless cabinetry. I'm going to use the select only. Go back to my grid view. Okay, so I need a sink base. There's a couple of ways I could do this. What I'm going to do first, take the very easy path. Now this is just going to show me what 97 sink bases that we have, and you can see that they're all different shapes and sizes, and clearly some of these are not going to work well in this scenario here. But I don't care. I'm just going to click one, and again, down in our information panel, we can see we've got more info about it. We know it's not going to work, but if I hover on the location, what that does is it shows me where in the table of contents this particular item lives. And each of these breadcrumbs is a clickable link. So I'm going to, you can see here there's farm-based sinks, but I'm going to go above that, go up one level to sink-based cabinets. And you can see instantly the table of contents has changed to sink-based cabinets. And if I look at the table of contents, it's brought me straight to that area where I can see not just what's under there, but I can go from one item to related items. So first off, I'm going to pin that, and now I can navigate up and down here while navigating up and down here. And I would like to have a full height door. Okay, so we can add one of these in. What I'm going to do first is go to our cabinet display. I'm going to click the neighboring cabinet and then drop that guy in. So you notice there, I double-clicked to add, whereas with the range, I dragged and dropped. I could also have used the Add button, or the Enter key on my keyboard, or the Replace. Now, let's see, if I go back to All Items, this is the third and even more easy way to find what I'm looking for. I could go in here and just do Sink 36. And that would give me a much more refined list. So this filter here is really quite powerful, not just in a specific catalog, but across multiple catalogs. Okay, so there we are. That's a quick rundown on the browser. We are, one second. We are now going to have a look at the cloud configurator in the same kitchen that we were just in.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Maybe just one question from one of the users here.
Yeah, sure.
This person's, what's her name? Leila Johnson asked if today, to install a catalog, they need to download it, they need to use the catalog manager, and to install it into 2020 Design. And she's inquired what's the process to get these catalogs from the cloud in 2020 Design. Well, the good news for you, Leila, is that you don't have to do anything, right? If the catalog is available in the cloud, you'll see it in the cloud browser. And it's maintained automatically by us and the manufacturer. So there's no more installation that requires to be done for you. So this is a lot of overhead that's taken off of your tasks as well.
Absolutely. And there's no more searching for a catalog, trying to find out if it's available, trying to validate if it's the same catalog you've installed or if it's a different file. Often when these come from portals and FTP sites, it can be a bit of a headache managing what you have and what you need. Okay.
Another question that was common is that one person installed the latest 12.1 design and was not able to see the frame frame lists and frame catalogs. Yeah, so that's a good point. This is a good question. Those catalogs are considered to be configurable catalogs and are only accessible through a 2020 Design Live license. So in order to see those catalogs or be able to configure these cloud items, you will need a 2020 Design Live license. There's multiple ways you can do that, either acquire a new license or migrate your existing one and convert it to a 2020 Design Live subscription license. Hope that answers your question. Thank you, Paul. Mark, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have our sync base in position. We're going to look at the configurator now. Move that over there. Make this a little bigger so you can see better. So this is the cloud configurator. This is all new. It operates on a fairly simple concept, which I'll hopefully be able to explain properly to you. So we have a catalog selector up here, which basically just lets us pick if we want to only modify a particular catalog. And we've got a couple of filters, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And then the main part of the configurator are these two columns. The one on the left are features, and the one on the right is a list of options that relate to the selected feature. So you can see here I've got door style selected in my feature list, and all my options are door styles for that feature. Similarly, if I go to door pool, select that as my feature, now all the options are related to door pools. And this is the same throughout. So we'll see some of this in action. What else we have in here? We have a nice preview. This is a fairly bland cabinet because, as you can possibly tell, it's cherry alabaster, so it's kind of white. And it doesn't have a lot of detail because it's a slab door. But we'll see that change. Okay, so the other thing that's really nice about what we have with cloud cabinetry and what this allows us to do with the configurable solution is make sure that you can't create an item that is either unavailable from the manufacturer or it has errors in it. So let me give you an idea of what that would look like and how it works. I'll just move that a little bit further out of the way. I want to make sure that we are looking at our sync base. So we have our sync base here. And the cloud configurator knows that this is a sync base. It has this cool feature here called associated products. If I open that up, because it knows it's a sync base, it can offer me syncs. So when I select the syncs, you'll see my option list changes. It looks a lot like the browser that we were just playing with, because it is. But in here, it's only showing me syncs that will fit. Because as you saw before, we know a lot of the detail in the content. We know what width things are, what depth, and all that sort of stuff. So it knows which syncs will fit in here. So of these two, I'm going to choose the Blanco syncs. I have the same power in here to change how I view the results, change the pagination, do all these sorts of things. I can do text filters if I like. So I happen to know that there is a Blanco sync that ends in 104. This one looks like a good option. Again, I get a nice little preview overlay, so I can just validate that that's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to select it. And you can see my preview down here, updated with a very nice view of the sync. And our floor plan is updated and our render is updated. But that's not all. You can also see here the feature list has been updated. So now I have a sync. It can offer me faucets. If I select faucets, it'll show me all the available faucets that will fit. Let's just have that guy there. Again, I just click it to select it. If I click it again, I'll be able to deselect it. But I think this looks pretty good, so I'm going to keep it. And you can see, once again, the preview has been updated. The render window's been updated, and the floor plan's been updated. Okay, so what else can we do? Let's change this a little. We'll go back and we'll look at our range. What we're going to do here is we're going to fiddle around with this cabinet here. You can see I can select it from the floor plan or from the elevation, it doesn't matter. And we can see in our configurator that it's telling me all about that one item. The one here tells me that there is one item in my selection that is full overlay slab, and we know that, it's this guy here. And we also have this little icon here which tells us that each of these with the icon is a feature and option set that has been selected by default by the system. And it's just an informational thing. Maybe that's great, maybe that's fine. I can click it and say, okay, that's a good choice. But it gives me an alert system that tells me, oh, hang on, maybe I need to go in and just double check that everything is correct in my design. So we have this item selected. You can see, as I was telling you about the sink base and how that works, we no longer have an option for sink bases because that just wouldn't fit in a wall unit. But it does give us all kinds of other attributes. So we can go in and we can change the position of door handles and the orientation. We can change dimensions. We can include add-ons, like a stemware rack. So I've selected this feature of stemware racks and it's given me some options. I can have none, or I can have this one here. So I'm going to add it, and very quickly the design's updated. You can see the preview is updated as well. And my other options in here include modifications. So I could go in here and add a little bit of style, maybe. I'm going to add some glass doors. And there again, you've got very quickly the preview is updated, the render is updated, and our item is updated. Okay, that's one item. What if we were going to look at multiple items? So here's a full view of our kitchen again. We've now got a range, we've got a nice set of glass doors, and we've got a sink and all that sort of stuff. Starting to look a bit more like a real kitchen. If I click on the floor plan or on the elevation, I basically deselect this item. So this is the one I'd selected before. If I deselect it, what I'm doing in effect is selecting everything. So I'm going to close up these and explain a little bit about that. So now I'm being told in my feature list that there are 17 items to which a full overlay slab is applied. 17 in cherry alabaster, 17 with a door pull. That's all good. So I can very quickly switch between configuring one item and configuring multiple items. So I'm going to select this door style feature and change everything to shaker. Why not? You can see again in the option list, I have these nice previews so I can identify any details that I might miss. A lot of these look very similar. The preview helps me identify exactly what I'm looking for. Now you can see that within just a couple of moments, design is going around the kitchen and it's making changes to all our items. There we go, our kitchen is now shaker, which is kind of neat. So that's one item and multiple items. We can do, or every item, we can do, just make some selections here. And we can change just those, so you'll notice it's a 2 here, because we have 2 items selected. So we could return those to a slab. Cool, we're done. So now we've got multiple styles in our kitchen. Maybe not the styles a real designer would put in, but it gives you the idea that we're looking for here. So what if we were to make other changes? Well, let's pick these 2 guys again because why not? Actually, I will move this to a texture view first. Apologies for it being a little dark. So I'm going to select these two items here, which I can do with the control key, or I can rubber band them. I can select them here and here, or one or the other. What I'm going to do is change the color, because why not? So we can see these two are cherry alabaster. When I click this feature, it's showing me all the options for material finish. Now, you can see here that I've got almost 900 options. I'm not going to go through all those. We don't have time, and I'm too lazy. But what we can do is use the text filter, just the same as we did before for sinks and ranges, and we can find pretty much anything we're looking for. So I saw something earlier, which I think was called sapphire, and you can see I only needed to type in a part of this string. I don't need to know the product code. I don't need to know the full item name. I don't need to know what it starts with. I can just put in part of it, and it returns me what I'm looking for. So it gives me something very specific out of almost 900 results, which is a lot faster. And if I click on that, you can see it's made that change very quickly. It is very dark, so if I move a little bit, it will hopefully refresh. Misbehaving, you can tell this is live. Okay, so as it starts to build there, you can see that my kitchen has blue cabinets and it has white cabinets. And it has multiple styles. And this is all within one catalog. There's no downloading, changing, modifying, uploading, reusing. Within just a couple of clicks and maybe 5 minutes, you can really fly through multiple designs live and right there in front of your clients, show them what it might look like if you made some of these changes without having to do all kinds of legwork in order to get you into that position. I'll show you something else here. So we recently ran a pilot over a number of months, and we got various bits of feedback from all our pilot testers, and we've been able to incorporate those into the features that you see here. So once again, I've selected just the floor plan. So basically deselected any particular item and selected everything. And you can see in our feature list the results that we applied just moments ago. So we have the 15 items that are shaker and those 2 wall units that are full overlay slab. If I hover on door styles, it will show me everything with a door style. You can see that outlined in green in the floor plan and in the elevation. And if I just hover on one of those, it will show me just those items. You can see that the wall units in the floor plan and the elevation are not highlighted in green because they're full overlay slab. So if I hover there, it will show me those. This allows you to do some design validation and let you just check that the styles and the features are applied to the items that you think they are. So that's a very handy thing that's been was suggested by one of our testers, and we managed to add that in.
Absolutely, so, absolutely.
So what else can we do? Well, we can just tidy up the rest of this kitchen. We can use the same process as before. The learning curve is pretty low once you've had to play with it. We click on door pools as a feature, and then select a door pool. Similarly, drawer pools. It's having a think, doing the update. There are some door pools. Now we have drawer pools. It's going around the design, checking all the items, applying the different pools. But the concept is pretty much the same throughout. What is displayed there will depend on how the catalog is created by the manufacturer. Each one is a little different, as I'm sure you know. So how these are constructed with things like door styles and finish and so on may change depending on what you're using. The concept is the same. Okay, and that's the Cloud Configurator.
Awesome. Good job, Mark. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any other questions come in?
There is so many questions in the feed, and it's a bit hard to keep up. One that's interesting that I think you can give a live example of your experience is, will this solution work with maybe not so fast internet access? And perhaps you can explain to us how you managed to do your presentation at KBIS. KBIS,
Sure.
Which was the show in Vegas last time around. It was in February. Wow, it sounds like ages we can go to shows. But yeah, go ahead, Mark. What did you do?
Yeah, that was a crazy time when we're all allowed in the same room. So the amount of data that is required to come from the cloud and populate your design is really quite low. You don't necessarily need a fiber cable. And when we were doing the VIP show in Vegas for KBIS, we were in one of those meeting rooms, and there's a couple of hundred people in there or whatever. And often in these events, you can't get a hardwired network cable, and the Wi-Fi is distributed among everyone who turns up. So what we did, just to make sure that we didn't run out of network completely, is we simply had the laptop we're using tethered to a phone, and it didn't use a ton of data. We had cell service, and it worked really well. So it's a valid concern, but really the data requirements are pretty low.
Awesome. Exactly. That's my same experience as well. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so we'll try as much as possible to answer some of the questions that are in the feed right now. But in the meantime, I'll take over the presentation, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Right here, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I've been told I'm not coming as loud as I should, so I'll try to speak a bit louder this time around. So basically, you see 2020 design right now. I'm just going to do a small recap of what we've looked at with Mark. We have 15 minutes left, so I'll try to be as efficient as possible. So basically, Mark presented to us the cloud browser. We went through all the functionalities of the cloud browser, how you can access all the cloud catalogs. These don't need to be installed by you. They're readily accessible for you, and you can manage and require access to some of these manufacturer catalog as well. He also dived into the other functionalities, how you can go to the table of content, how you can look for specific items and text and type in a text field, how you can filter out to a specific dimensions or height or price even of a specific item that you're looking for, how you can toggle between gallery and list view, and very important, the information area where you can further dive in and locate an item that you have selected in the cloud browser. So these are all very nice functionalities that are available through the cloud browser. What else have we looked? We looked at the cloud configurator, which is really the heart of this solution, really the power that 2020 Design Live brings out to you, the capability to configure a kitchen using a single catalog. You no longer need to download any duplicates of catalogs to have multi-style kitchen. This tool breaks that barrier completely. You can go and configure at will, at your design leisure, any type of cabinets into any types of finish, color, door styles, and he also presented the cross-catalog capability where you can add appliances or sinks or faucets to a specific item on your design. The cloud configurator is composed of two main areas. The left column are the features, and the right column, which are the associated options. So the finish options, for instance, has all these options available. So I could have finish options of brindle, chestnut, dawn, honey, etc. Cool. I think that's a very quick recap. I hope you have enjoyed this part of the presentation. Well, I'm going to take it right now is try to explain to you how you can apply rates to some of your projects. So what I've done here is I've taken the exact same kitchen that Mark has, which he made with all generic catalogs, and I've just replaced them or changed all these cabinets to a manufactured cabinet. In this case, I've chosen the Birch Marketplace catalog. There's no really reason why I picked this one, but I thought it was pretty complete to the means of this presentation. So I went down this list and I selected Birch Marketplace cabinetry, and I have access to all these items. And what I did, I just drag and dropped it onto my floor plan and replaced all the items. So I have the same kitchen. And just for the sake of demonstration of what Mark was saying, so if I want to configure maybe only a subset of the items of this kitchen, so what I'll do is I'll put this rendering on the side here, and I go onto my floor plan, which is the exact same floor plan that Mark was showing earlier, and I'll go on to the cabinet. So frequently what you are asked to do is to have perhaps the island with a different finish option or finish color. So I'll do just that. So how do I select my cabinets? I simply rubber band these cabinets, and I select them onto my lag. So I select them, and you can see that the cloud configurator has all these three items selected. The current finish option right now is brindle for these three cabinets on my island. So what I'll do is I'll just simply change this into a toffee finish. Okay. So in this few step, I selected my cabinet island and then went onto my cloud configurator and changed the finish option of only these three cabinets. Now let's take a look at my rendering. I bring it back, and just with a simple click, I didn't have to download again another catalog. I didn't have to pull these cabinets from a separate catalog to put them on my screen. So whenever I show this to designers today, I hear a lot of oohs and wahs because they understand the whole pain that goes away when they go into access these type of functionality. Cool. We've done this, a small demonstration. If I go back here and just highlight the latest functionality that Mark was talking about, I've clicked on the floor plan, which essentially selects all my items in the cloud configurator. And you can see that my three cabinets right here are with the toffee finish, and the rest of my kitchen is with brindle. I put this aside, you'll see them highlighted on the floor plan. As I hover on the toffee selection ones, you can see only my cabinets of the island are now with toffee. Cool. So that done brings me back to the presentation. And I'll go talk about rates. How can I set rates for my cloud cabinets or my cloud catalogs? So if I go back into 2020 design, and I bring this here on the right-hand side, I go back to my cloud browser. Now, we've looked that the cloud browser has a couple of tabs. It has the news tabs, and it has the browser tab. But you might have noticed that we have this little icon on the right-hand side called Display Pricing Categories. So this is perhaps a stack of coins. We call it the database. But basically, this enables you to have access to the rates. In this case, you have a new presentation, a new layout. And if I've expanded here, I have access to all my previous available catalogs. So all these are the same catalogs where you have noticed that they have the same symbol on the right-hand side. These are catalogs that you have the power to select and define rates. Right? So if I go here and I go back to my Birch Marketplace cabinetry, you see that I have, in this case, this catalog has two pricing categories, the cabinets and the accessories. Okay, so basically, depending on which catalog you choose, the controls will be different and the pricing categories will be different. Okay, So if I focus your attention on the cabinets, I'll be applying a cost factor and a retail factor for these cabinets, for all the cabinets of this solution. We'll go down here. I have a section that has an example price. So we've put this in to be by default at $100. And I have a cost factor, and I can enter a value here, which could define maybe a cost factor of 50%. So if I do this and I press enter, you see two things happening. You see my cost price result gets adjusted to $50. So the 50% of 100 comes down to $50. So pretty simple calculation. And as I did press enter, you also notice that the cost factor also is applied in the cost factor section or column of the cabinet. Now, for the retail factor. This retail factor is applied on the cost price result. Okay? So if I would to put it in here 50%, this 50% is applied on this $50. So if I press enter, you'll see that my retail price result comes up to $75, which is logic because 50% of 50 is $25 and is added to my cost price and it comes up to $75. So as you can see, it's pretty simple implementation of cost and retail factor. So you no longer have to play outside of 2020 design, enter a specific sheet with special numbers with the decimal points. This is brought up to you more easily and more convenient to use. So every project you do, you can define different price results. Usually you only will look at this once and then forget about it because once it's done, it'll remain there and you'll be able to assess or the next projects will retain those cost and retail factor. And if you ever need to change them again, it's fairly easy. You go back to these coin stack, select your catalogs, and reapply the factors that you would like to apply again. So it's really a simple factor to do. Okay, hopefully that was understandable. I can now perhaps go to my next section, into my presentation. We've talked about rates. We have 5 minutes left to talk about reporting. All right, so how does reports look like now in 2020 design? So I have this kitchen that I've just configured, right? So all my items are pretty much identical. I tried to simplify as much as possible and only changed, like with you, the finish option of the island cabinets, right? So with that said, we're going to see what the reports look like. So if I click on reports and go and bring up the cost cell report so you can see at the same time how are my cost factors and retail factors applied. So I click on this and I press view. This will bring up my cost report. Bring up right now, it appears on my next page, right here. Just bear with me a second as it computes that report for you. Okay. Hopefully, our friend, the support, is continuing answering questions on the live feed. Here I have my report. It's right here. So I have a barn door, which comes from the decorative items. So one thing to notice, the report looks very similar as before, as you're used to right now, whereas all the items appear by catalogs, of course. And if you go, and I bring your attention to the catalog section for the merch marketplace, which is the catalog that I'm using for this project, you will see a couple things. So let's draw your attention on the list and cost retail price. List price is a price by default that comes within the catalog. Okay, so everybody gets list price, and you apply a cost factor. A cost factor was 50%, as we've done together. It's applied here in the cost column. And you also have the retail factor, which is 50% applied on the cost price. So all these factors are applied at the item level, and you have a total for each one of them. Hopefully that's clear. I want to bring up to the next portion of this report, which understanding how the items are classified. Okay. First of all, you notice that we have two main blocks. All right. My kitchen in this case is fairly simple. I've only changed as I specified the finish options of the 3 island cabinets. So you'll notice that all my the remainder of my kitchen has all these similar features and options. Okay? They're all listed here, the features and the associated options. So all the items that have these similar features and options appear underneath this block 1. Okay? And then the block 1 total is applied here. You'll notice here that block 2 follows block 1, and I have a subset of similar options which regroups the next similar items. So as you noticed, the finish option here is toffee, whereas over here the finish option was brindle. So only 3 items had the finish option toffee, and they appear here under block number 2. And again, block number 2 also has their total, and so you can really understand what portion of the kitchen is more expensive or not. So this is just an example of one of the reports. There's a couple other. I'm sure you've used the quote, for instance, report, which doesn't show the cost report, which is probably more effective when you do presentation to your customers. Okay, and I think that concludes my portion of the presentation. If I go back here, and go back. Next slide. Don't forget, there's a lot of material for you available on our website. We are providing a lot of training. We have now the capability to provide online training, which is really cool. So get you up to speed as fast as possible in the comfort of your own home. We have a knowledge center, which is a database of articles, of white papers, articles that address frequently asked questions on the market, or cool tool tips for you guys to understand how to do certain tasks more easily within 2020 Design Alive. We also have a community, which is a forum of users, such as yourself. It's accessible to 2020 Spaces, and where you can ask questions, interact with other users of the community, and they also can answer your questions on a daily basis. Okay. If you need more information, don't forget to visit us on 2020spaces.com. Hopefully, this webinar was helpful for you. With that, any final remarks, Mark?
There were a few questions which I thought we could maybe take for just a couple of minutes. One, they're lying past thick and fast. One of our attendees was asking about tall appliance cabinets, if they would operate in the same way that we saw the sink base working, and the answer to that is yes. You would add your tall appliance cabinet, and then it would show you associated products that fit in that space. Are all cabinet manufacturers going for this product? Many are. You can see the list there as Santiago and I went through. We have something like 80-odd catalogs in there just now, and that is growing with every day. So there are a lot of benefits here for the manufacturers, so many of them are very keen to get on board. Another user asked if you need to use cloud catalogs with Design Live, and the answer is no. You can continue to use the catalogs you have, install them in the same way that you do today, find them in the same way that you do today, and there's no functionality here that's been removed from what you normally use in 2020 Design.
Correct. Okay, with that, thanks a lot for being part of this presentation. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us today. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the feedback.